People of Reddit who have been to prison. Everyone always asks what the worst part was, but did you have any parts you liked? I learned a lot of skills in prison. From sewing to female pleasure. I went to female prison, so it was a little different. I learned how to fight. Work out. Talk to people. Misdirection. I also learned that so many people are in because they don't have another choice. Because they have a record they can't get a job. Can't get an apartment. Etc. I really enjoyed how loyal some of the other girls were. I came from a family that lied all the time. And now I have girls who will spend 7 days in solitary instead of telling the guards what I did. Of course. Please don't mistake me, I mean, prison is awful and definitely don't go there. I went in at barely 18 and did 5 years. I learned to play all kinds of card games. I read massive quantities of all different kinds of books. Learned how to work out effectively with no tools. I learned I can survive an entire year in a small box, solitary. I played D&D. The most valuable thing I got from the experience was learning people. I'm autistic, and before prison I presented autistic pretty heavily. Social norms were strange and mostly foreign. I had a long time to do for crimes that were considered honorable by people inside, so I had a pretty low difficulty setting, if that makes sense. Set by being tiny and queer, which meant I did have to fight when I first got there and a few more times throughout to remind folks I was comfortable with violence. But learning people. Prison taught me how to read threats, it taught me how to gauge who to trust, it taught me to take the temperature of a room, how to persuade or agitate, or whatever else I need to do, by watching others, and by doing it myself. It taught me how to present myself to appear threatening, to be invisible in crowds, to get away with asterisk, to give people the image of me they expected to get whatever result I wanted from the interaction. All social skills folks without autism seem to get more easily. I got from 5 years of focused social study. I also got horrific PTSD, so I learned exactly how far I'll go to stay alive. I learned what I'm capable of in extremity. I learned how to behave in crisis, how to show nothing to others emotionally that can be employed against me. I learned how much I like hard work. If I hadn't wanted to go straight, I learned to be a much better criminal. A lot of these are less things I like than lessons I value, but I hope they're acceptable answers nonetheless. But listen, don't go to prison if you can avoid it. It's real bad, no good, 0/10 do not recommend. Routine. It's equal parts the best and worst thing. One of the reasons a lot of people come out of prison jacked to the gills is because they have nothing else to do, so they work out every day. Same thing with people who love to read. Prison libraries had a lot of books and you've got what feels like unlimited time to read them. Lack of choice is equal parts terrible and liberating. I never had to worry about what to eat, because it was decided for me. What clothes do you wear? No choices, just wear what you've been issued. I had a friend from high school, barely know him now, who was in federal prison, US. It wasn't great, but the federal prison was not entirely terrible and the routine and learning opportunities were good for him. He felt rehabilitated, to be honest. He's never gone back and has a job now and all that. This was all around 2002-2003 or so. Nothing like a few years of enforced cold turkey to break the alcoholism and the monastery-like time to read and study. I had a couple hundred books while down, as well as studied in the library to prep for applying to college when I got out. Does military brig count? I felt like I was able to fully become invested in books in a way that I never had before. We had a small library and could read novels during free time. I became so engrossed in nearly every book I read because there were zero distractions and nothing else to look forward to. I also felt a sense of pride in some of the dumb tasks they made us do. Like, I'd wax the deck floor to perfection with my cellmates, and we'd stand back and marvel at how shiny and perfect it was. Lastly, got along well with the other dudes in the brigadier. There was a sense of camaraderie. We had some free time when we could play board games, and we got crazy invested in them. Like, I remember this huge Confed Nebraskan dude was genuinely pissed for days when another dude wouldn't sell him a property in Monopoly lol. We also made up fun games. For example, the place had a lot of flies, so had a fly hunting game where you'd score a point for each fly killed. But if you killed a fly on the ceiling by throwing a flip-flop at it, you'd get 3 points. Loser would have to give his desert to the winner. All in all, it wasn't too bad, but I imagine actual prison would be much worse. I never had the feeling that I was in danger. I got to read a mega asterisk of books. I was at Calipatria and they even had an enormous manga section in the library. I got to read a lot of series/books/authors I wouldn't have glanced at normally. Pidgeal is pretty popular. I really love Form and Pinochle. I played countless hours of it in prison, and a lot of people are really good. Fun tournaments. My friend went to a jail for 2 weeks cause of a DUI and reckless driving. The judge didn't let him off the hook despite it being a first-time offense. He said the other inmates were kinda nice to him. They can tell who does and doesn't belong there, so they won't go out of their way to be mean or anything. Also he said that it's nice knowing the inmates have some morals. Some of these guys were murderers/robbers/etc, but there was one guy who was a child rapist and they went out of their way to make his life hell cause they crossed the line at hurting kids. The camaraderie to some extent. Yeah, there were some guys that were insane or confrontational or disgusting, but for the most part your clique is your family. I honestly have laughed so hard with them I couldn't breathe. We had fierce loyalty, always looking out for each other. Ate together. Taught each other things. We were extremely lucky to be in a low to no politic dorm. My car had 2 Mexicans, 1 other, 1 white, 1 black, and became friends cause our beds were near each other. When I was leaving it was abrupt, and I was so excited I kind of rushed out. I wish I asked for some of their phone numbers. It was county, so they would have been relatively close by. Oh well. I still sometimes crack a smile thinking of that time and all the hilarious/dumb *** we did. Read the Bible, and was given the gift of faith through grace. Grew up with a religious background and thought I was a believer. I didn't realize that believing and walking in the faith were 2 separate things. I made some great friends who would have went through hell for me. Some friends I didn't even want, but they just wanted to be my friend so bad they just wouldn't leave. I realized how bad racism is on both sides, and learned what real monsters are. I wrote a whole sci-fi fantasy series that is going to be published. I read tons of great books. I worked out a lot, and learned what it meant to suffer oppression. I learned to be humble, after being the exact opposite most of my life. I hate that it made me better, but that was only because I fought to become better, because I lived around monsters who chose to become worse. That makes you decide if you want to be a good person or a bad person. It was never an option for me to be anything but a good person. It forced me to be stronger and stick up for myself in the scariest of situations, but I did it. I didn't compromise my faith or self-respect, and am better for it. I'm also riddled with PTSD and anxiety, but just like going to war, comes with the territory. You have so much time to think about everything. I've had my best philosophical experiences while in prison. One of the first things I saw when I got sent to prison for the first time, I was *** terrified of what might happen, like shower bombings and whatnot. I walk onto the wing and I *** you not. The first thing I see when I look up is 5 of the biggest brick *** house black guys on the top floor all singing Celine Dion at the top of their lungs. Look back before you leave Miley Ify. I burst out laughing and thought I might like it there after all. After a few weeks, it was grand. All the stuff in movies about jail have it wrong. It's not a horrible place to be, unless you're a horrible person. The mushroom soup I had in that place was the best mushroom soup I ever had. The worst thing about prison was the Dementors. When I ended up being the coolest person in there because I had a job and I taught everyone how to sing There's a Hole in the Bottom of the Sea together. The prison I was at had a nice indoor basketball court, so that was cool. I really can't think of anything else. Prison is **** boring, and being away from your family, friends, and pets is awful. It says a lot about a person if you enjoy prison. Like, you can make the most of a situation and try to see any bright sides, but ultimately it's like 24/7 high school level drama, maturity, intelligence, and cliques with criminals. It's also depressing as ****, seeing these sad husks of humans that will never go home to 10ths. Don't recommend. There is no good experience. I didn't do hard time one day then 10 then 20 all in a federal prison gen pop. But then yet I did bunk with a child molester, so it was tough to have a good experience. I used to work in prisons. The co's always had my back. Thank you to all of you who kept me safe. Probably the support groups now, AA, etc. I went to federal prison. Made some good friends in there who got me through it. Not everyone in there is bad, they just lost their way in life at some point, although some should never be released in my opinion. No, I didn't keep them as friends once released. Learned card games, spades specifically, pool, chess, and more and became really good at them. Improved my social skills, as I was just 20 and an introvert. I would say this was the most helpful thing of all for me personally. Got my JED and went to college after I got out. Had fun release parties for people where we'd make all kinds of weird mixed foods with the limited options we had. How to pee in front of someone quickly and easily when they did random drug screenings. Now when I'm in a public restroom like at a sports event, I have zero anxiety about urinals and other men standing next to me and can pee on command. Learned a ton of street smart skills. There isn't a whole lot in the real world that honestly scares me. It's a powerful feeling to not really be scared of cops or gangs of intimating people or situations most people would piss their pants about. I am scared to go back to prison though, which is why I haven't gone back in 23 years. But getting pulled over by a cop? Zero anxiety. Other than that, not much else. I was in for just a year. I worked with a lot of ex-cons at my job and many of them said that you play a lot of cards, spades. One guy said he ran 5 miles and had a strict routine to stay sane. Another guy from Cali said he learned Spanish and played handball to pass time. The food was delicious. Your topic title implies you are directing the question at people who were inmates in prison. I was a correctional officer, feel free to ask anything. The gym. Free every day. I like that. Now I'm over my fear of prison. Before you go, it's literally the scariest place you can think of going. But if you survive, no other place is so bad. For example, when I joined the military in my country, they would tell us stories about the new barracks and how the higher ranked conscripts would **** with you. All my friends were terrified, but I was chill. An acquaintance committed another crime right after release, so he could go back because he said he loved the sex that much. True story. Absolutely. How keeping your nose in your own business is vital. There it could be someone is doing the nasty or stabbing someone. Keep to yourself. I did not really go to prison, but to juvenile jail. Definitely, I wouldn't recommend it. I went in at 13 to serve 2 months of rehabilitation. Rehabilitation in juvenile jail is actually not as bad as people think, although I wouldn't recommend it. I learned to play basketball, better anger management, and there are teachers there to teach. I also learned some life skills like cooking, sewing, and how to care for a home. There is a surprisingly vast variety of facilities in juvenile jail, but limited time. Sometimes when you are a good kid, they will reward you with some extra time in some facilities. But when you disobey rules or break them, there are consequences. from range of canning to isolation. Depending on your situation, there's a lot of free uninterrupted time to read. Are element of that movie shot caller real? Can a regular guy be drawn into racial/regional gangs just to survive? Are you part of it when you leave? Not me, but my dad. He always tells me about how much he liked Fridays because they had these really nice meatballs for dinner. Aside from the constant fear of violence and confrontation, it was an escape from reality, a simpler life, where I didn't have to worry about most things. I was not there for long. It was traumatic, but a reminder of how much better a simple life actually is. Never been, but all that reading, exercise, and free everything sounds quite nice. I wasn't incarcerated, I worked as a Prison is a sad, dangerous place. However, the breakfast burritos you get there are *the*******. Yeah, when bathing then people drop their soaps, and then you'd sneak behind them while picking it, and hit for free,